It's great to have you back. And first of all, the last time we spoke, you were concerned that Pfizer's silence was a bad sign. So that just underscores, I think, the magnitude of this positive news today, right?
Yes, that's right. The last time we spoke, we were approaching the end of October with no vaccine, which made us a little concerned the trial might not be going as well as we hoped. But as we noted then, there could be other reasons for the delay. We've turned the cards over now. The data looks extremely good, and it turns out the delay was due to Pfizer waiting longer to analyze the data. I'm very excited about the news today.
Yeah, and I know that there had been some pushback too. People in the sort of analyst or research community didn't want them to go too quickly, so they've taken their time, and the news is great. And so it's very gratifying for all of us to hear that. Let me ask you, though, about some of these remaining questions. First and foremost, what about its efficacy on older people? Any insight you can offer on kind of what we're likely to hear and when we might be likely to hear it?
I think that's still a bit of an open question, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I would say that we'll probably need to wait to see when we get the final results, and we'll have a little bit more insight then into what the efficacy looks like in the older populations. And that is certainly a critical question when you think about how quickly we can go back to some degree of normalcy. I would emphasize, though, that the 90% efficacy we've seen is a very impressive result. It's very much at the upper end of what most folks were expecting. Most experts were thinking 70 to 80%, so 90% is quite high. And furthermore, I'd highlight, too, that the 90% is efficacy in both preventing severe and non-severe symptomatic COVID. Severe disease, that which puts patients in the hospital, that which leads to mortality, that's probably what we're most concerned about. And vaccines usually, maybe always, are more effective in preventing severe disease than they are in preventing less severe disease. So I'd expect efficacy in preventing severe disease probably even higher than 90%, which bodes quite well.
That would, yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting to hear the CEO himself this morning say even he didn't think they were going to be 90% effective, that he was kind of positively surprised at that. What about how long the vaccine will last, Dr. Chen? I mean, it would seem to be a big difference if this has to be annually administered versus kind of a one and done or every 5 or 10 years kind of thing. I mean, what do we know, and how much does it change the excitement that the market and investors might have depending on the answer?
It will be a little bit of time before we get a complete answer on that. I would say I'm generally optimistic, though. I don't know whether we'll get to lifetime immunity from one course of the COVID-19 vaccine, but certainly, even if you did require, I would expect it would likely last at least a year or two, and even if that was the profile, I think that would be certainly something that gets us a very long ways towards getting back to some degree of normalcy. I think that'd be very much an acceptable profile. I don't think it matters too much whether it's every year, every 2 years, or every lifetime sort of thing.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.